Ethan Hale had never thought that navigating a spaceship could be so complicated. He was a human, trained in the logic of machines, numbers, and predictable physics. Yet here he was, inside the gleaming control room of a massive alien megastructure, staring at a maze of glowing, twisting portals called the spatial gates. Each gate pulsed with energy, vibrating with a rhythm that seemed alive, as if the gates themselves were aware of every move he made. He glanced at his wife, Lady Solara, an elegant alien noble whose blue-scaled skin shimmered under the station's lights. Her eyes, golden and sharp, reflected a mixture of pride and frustration. She was not just his wife, she was a high-ranking diplomat of the Zarvian Empire, one of the galaxy's oldest and most powerful civilizations. "Ethan," Solara said, her voice tight. "Remember, every gate here belongs to a noble family. One wrong move, and you can insult an entire lineage. It is not just a mistake, it is dishonor." Ethan nodded, trying to calm his nerves. He had studied every protocol, every map, every rule about the gates. Yet, unlike humans, the Zarvians treated the gates as extensions of their own families. Each gate resonated with the unique life energy of its noble bloodline. Enter the wrong gate, and the system could detect the mismatch immediately. He took a deep breath and focused on the console. The human shuttle under his control was small compared to the station, but maneuvering it required absolute precision. One wrong angle, one misread signal, and the shuttle could end up in the wrong gate, triggering a protocol of alarms, shields, and worst of all, political scandal. "Just follow the instructions," Solara said, her hand brushing his arm. "And do not improvise. The council is watching. My family is watching. Do not fail." Ethan smiled faintly, but inside, his heart pounded. The council he referred to was a gathering of dozens of the most influential nobles in the galaxy. They were here to witness the final test of trust, the human's ability to navigate and cooperate with Zarvian technology. If he failed, it could end his diplomatic mission, and possibly his marriage. The shuttle began its approach to the first gate. Blue energy swirled ahead, forming a perfect circle of light. Ethan carefully aligned the ship, following the holographic instructions projected in front of him. Everything seemed fine. The shuttle's sensors hummed as it passed through the energy barrier, entering a corridor that twisted in impossible angles. Then he saw it. Another gate, slightly off course, pulsing with a deeper, golden energy. The system's interface displayed a warning in alien script. Ethan squinted. He could not read Zarvian fluently, only the basic commands. The interface suggested, strangely, that the gate was already occupied or restricted. Without thinking, he made a snap decision. The shuttle needed to pass through the corridor to stay on schedule. He assumed the warning was a glitch. Humans were used to machines misreading data. After all, he nudged the controls, and the shuttle veered toward the Golden Gate. The moment the shuttle crossed the threshold, alarms screamed throughout the station. Red lights flashed, and an ancient voice echoed in multiple languages. "Unauthorized entry detected. Noble lineage violation. Security breach." Solara's eyes widened in shock. She sprinted toward the central console, her long robes brushing the polished floor. "Ethan!" she yelled. But it was too late. The council chamber, visible through the transparent walls of the station, erupted in chaos. Aliens of all shapes and sizes turned toward the breach, their expressions a mixture of anger, disbelief, and fear. The voice of Lady Solara rose above the panic, sharp and commanding. "You're in the wrong hole. That's my sister's." The words hung in the air. For a brief moment, the entire station went silent. Then, whispers spread like wildfire. Gasps, murmurs, and outraged shouts filled the chamber. Every noble in the council seemed frozen, unsure whether to demand Ethan's immediate punishment or to question their own understanding of humans. Ethan froze, realizing the gravity of his mistake. In human terms, He had entered a restricted area, but in Zarvian terms, this was more than a physical violation. It was a personal, almost sacred intrusion. Every noble bloodline had gates that resonated with its members' life force. His intrusion had touched something deeply symbolic, something that the Zarvians held in unquestionable reverence. Security drones immediately activated, their metal arms gleaming with defensive energy. They surrounded the shuttle, preparing to extract the intruder. Ethan tried to explain. I didn't know. The navigation interface was misleading. A large, armored alien stepped forward, his 4 eyes narrowed. Human. This is an insult to the Zarvian Empire. Do you understand what you have done? Ethan shook his head, panic rising. I swear, I didn't mean. Solara cut him off, stepping in front of the shuttle, her golden eyes blazing. It was not intentional, she said firmly. He is human. His species does not perceive our gates as we do. Punishing him would be dishonorable to my household, and unwise. The council murmured again. Some nobles looked skeptical, others were amused, though none would admit it. The concept of humans misunderstanding sacred protocols seemed absurd, and yet here it was happening in front of their eyes. Meanwhile, the sister whose gate had been violated arrived. She moved with quiet authority, her every step measured. Her golden energy matched the gate perfectly, making it clear to the council that she was indeed the rightful owner. She studied Ethan, her expression unreadable. Explain, she said softly, almost curiously, rather than angrily. Ethan swallowed. He was suddenly aware of all eyes on him. This was a test not of skill, not of courage, but of diplomacy. He opened his mouth. I am Ethan Hale, human. I am here to help navigate your shuttle safely. I did not understand the significance of your gate. I meant no disrespect. The sister raised a hand. The words, noble violation, echoed again. But she silenced the alarms. Interesting, she said. Humans, they do not perceive energy as we do. Perhaps their brains work differently. Perhaps they cannot feel the bond we feel. It seems chaotic, but effective. Ethan's brow furrowed. Effective? Yes, she said, a small smile forming. You managed to enter a gate in a way none of my ancestors could have imagined. The system would have rejected anyone else. Only a human's thinking, unpredictable, illogical, yet persistent, can succeed here. For the first time, Ethan felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe he had not ruined everything. Maybe humans had something to offer after all, even if it came in the form of a huge mistake. Solara placed a hand on his shoulder, giving him a look that mixed exasperation with pride. It is typical of humans, she muttered. Mess up, nearly destroy everything, and somehow succeed. The council, sensing the shift in energy, began debating. Some argued that humans could never be trusted with the megastructures. Others, impressed by the survival of the shuttle, suggested allowing humans to assist further. Security drones slowly lowered their weapons. Though they remained alert, Ethan exhaled slowly. He had survived the initial disaster. But the political fallout was far from over. Every noble in the galaxy would soon hear the story of the human who entered the wrong gate, and the implications were unpredictable. As the shuttle stabilized, Ethan looked out at the golden gate, its energy still shimmering. He could feel the weight of the Zarvian culture pressing down on him. One small mistake had caused a diplomatic incident, almost destroyed the shuttle, and made him the subject of galaxy-wide gossip. Yet, amid the chaos, one thought remained clear. Humans might not understand alien traditions, but they could adapt, survive, and even impress when it mattered most. And if this incident taught the Council anything, it would be that humans were wild cards, unpredictable, clever, and utterly capable of achieving what others could not. The first part of the mission had ended, but the story was far from over. Ethan had crossed the wrong gate, angered a noble family, and earned the attention of the galaxy's most powerful leaders. What came next would test not just his skill, but the very value of humanity in a universe that had never taken humans seriously before. And in the back of his mind, he knew one thing for certain. The worst was yet to come. The council chamber was buzzing with tension. Aliens of every size, shape, and color were gathered, their voices blending into a low hum of outrage, curiosity, and confusion. The moment Ethan Hale had entered the wrong gate, the delicate balance of Zarvian tradition had been disrupted. And now, it was his job to survive the fallout. Solara stood near the shuttle, her hands folded, her golden eyes glowing with authority. She had spoken for Ethan before, but the murmurs among the nobles made it clear that her intervention could only do so much. Some murmured that she was biased toward humans, while others wondered if humans truly understood the sanctity of the gates. Ethan swallowed, his fingers gripping the console. He was no stranger to difficult situations, but this was different. This was not a problem that could be solved with a wrench or a manual. This was a diplomatic disaster. One of the elder nobles, a tall figure with silver scales and 3 eyes, stepped forward. His voice boomed through the chamber. This human has violated sacred protocol. He has entered a gate reserved for my niece. Such disrespect cannot go unpunished. Ethan opened his mouth to explain, but Solara cut him off. It was not disrespect, she said firmly. Humans perceive space differently. He did not intend to violate the gate. Punishment would be unfair and counterproductive. The elder's eyes narrowed. Intent is irrelevant. The violation has occurred. The lineage has been compromised. On. Ethan took a deep breath. He knew arguing about intent might not work with the Zarvians. They valued action over reasoning in matters of honor. He needed to show competence, not just apologize. Please, he said, stepping forward. I can fix this. I can restore the system to its correct state. The council fell silent. Humans were known for their ingenuity. But could a human truly understand the Zarvian gates? Many doubted it. The silver-scaled noble raised an eyebrow, intrigued despite his anger. How? He asked. Ethan gestured to the console. The gates respond to energy patterns. I can recalibrate the shuttle to mimic the correct pattern. It will exit safely, without harming the gate or the noble it belongs to. A younger noble, her skin a soft lavender, frowned. And if you fail? The station could collapse. Entire families could be trapped or harmed. This is no small error, Ethan nodded. I understand the risk. But the alternative is worse. Leaving the shuttle inside the wrong gate could trigger a full defensive lockdown. That could destroy the ship, or worse, cause a cascade failure through the station. Solara placed a hand on his shoulder. You will do it, she said. I trust you. Ethan focused on the console. The shuttle's interface was alien, but his human training gave him a unique perspective. He saw patterns where the Zarvians saw sacred lines of energy. He adjusted the controls, aligning the shuttle's energy output to match the correct frequency of the gate. It was delicate work. Too much adjustment could trigger alarms. Too little would fail the process entirely. Meanwhile, the council debated around him. Some argued for immediate punishment. Others, seeing Ethan's steady focus, suggested allowing him a chance to correct the mistake. The sister whose gate had been violated observed silently, her expression unreadable. You are interesting, human, she said finally, her voice calm but firm. Most who enter a gate incorrectly panic. You adapt. Ethan gave a small nod. I have to. Otherwise, I fail everyone here. The sister's eyes softened slightly. Perhaps your species has potential. As Ethan worked, a security officer approached. Sir, the defensive drones are becoming unstable. If the energy mismatch continues, they could attack. Ethan's fingers flew over the controls. I know. I'm stabilizing the shuttle now. The shuttle began to hum, resonating with the correct energy. The red alarms flickered but did not shut down entirely. Ethan adjusted again. This time with more precision. The Golden Gate responded. its energy pattern synchronizing with the shuttle. Slowly, it began to retract its warning signals. The council murmured in surprise. Humans could solve problems in ways the Zarvians could not. It was unsettling, but also impressive. The elder noble stared at Ethan. Realization dawning. The human. He may have saved the station. Solara smiled faintly. Yes, she said. Humans may not understand all our traditions, but they are adaptable. They think differently, and sometimes differently is better. Ethan took another deep breath and completed the final adjustments. The shuttle disengaged fully from the Golden Gate and floated safely in the central corridor. The alarm stopped. The station was secure. A hush fell over the council chamber. The elder noble stepped forward, his 3 eyes fixed on Ethan. You have done what none of our finest engineers could, he said slowly. You have corrected a sacred violation without harm. That is remarkable. Ethan exhaled, feeling a wave of relief. It was not praise he had expected, but it was a start. The sister approached, studying him more closely. Tell me, human, how did you know what to do? I don't know, Ethan admitted. I just looked at the patterns differently. I treated it like a puzzle, not a sacred ritual. Humans do that. We break problems into pieces and solve them step by step. Her lips curved into a faint smile. Step by step. It seems simple, yet it worked. Perhaps your species is valuable after all. Solara's hand rested lightly on Ethan's arm. See? She whispered. You may have made a mistake, but you've also shown them why humans matter. The council, once ready to condemn him, now looked at him with a mixture of respect and caution. Humans were unpredictable, humans were messy, but they were also clever and resilient. The lavender-skinned noble spoke again. Perhaps we underestimated humans, she admitted. They are not bound by our traditions in the same way. That makes them dangerous and useful. Ethan nodded, absorbing the praise quietly. He had learned a valuable lesson. In the galaxy, respect was not just earned through tradition, but through action. Humans might not follow every rule, but they could achieve results others could not. As the shuttle floated safely in the corridor, Ethan allowed himself a small smile. The diplomatic disaster had been avoided, at least for now. But the political implications were far from over. Every noble in the galaxy would hear of the human who entered the wrong gate and how he had fixed it. Some would laugh, some would frown, and some would begin to think differently about humans. And that was exactly what Ethan had hoped for. Solara turned to him, her golden eyes warm. You have survived the first test, she said, but the next part will be even harder. The council will want answers. They will test you in ways you cannot imagine. Ethan nodded. He was ready. Humans were not just survivors, they were problem solvers. And in a galaxy full of rigid traditions, that was a skill worth more than any ceremony or protocol. The sister stepped closer, placing a hand on the golden gate. Do not think this is over, human. You have shown cleverness. But cleverness is only the beginning. You will need more than luck to navigate the politics of our station. Ethan met her gaze. I don't need luck. I just need to keep thinking, keep trying, and keep adapting. She nodded, apparently satisfied. Very well. Let us see how far your species can go. The council chamber began to settle. Aliens returned to their discussions, though many still whispered about the human who had dared to enter a sacred gate. Ethan floated the shuttle back toward the main dock, feeling the weight of expectation on his shoulders. He had survived the first disaster, but the true test of humanity's place in the galaxy was only beginning. As he looked out at the stars, Ethan thought of all the human explorers, engineers, and diplomats who had come before him. They had survived impossible odds, built civilizations, and adapted to alien worlds. And now, it was his turn to prove that humans were more than just mistakes, they were essential. The shuttle docked safely. Ethan stepped out, taking a deep breath. The council was watching, But for the first time, he felt a spark of confidence. Humans might be underestimated, but they were capable of incredible things, and in the universe of the Zarvians, that would soon become impossible to ignore. The shuttle had docked safely, but the tension aboard the Zarvian station remained thick. Ethan Hale knew that surviving the first disaster was only the beginning. The Council's curiosity had turned into scrutiny, and scrutiny into tests. Humans were not just expected to adapt. They were now expected to solve problems no Zarvian could handle. Solara, Ethan's alien noble wife, led him to a private chamber adjacent to the council hall. The room was vast, with walls that shimmered like liquid crystal. Energy patterns flowed across the surfaces, a visual representation of the station's complex systems. This chamber was where the council tested outsiders, where mistakes could either be corrected or punished. Ethan, Solara said quietly, the council will ask you to demonstrate your ability. They want proof that humans are not liabilities. Ethan nodded. I understand. I just need a clear problem to solve. I work better with a challenge in front of me. Solara's golden eyes sparkled. You'll get more than a challenge. Some of our gates are ancient, older than my empire. They are connected in ways we barely understand. Even Zarvian engineers fear them. The council expects you to handle them. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. These were not simple gates. They were living structures, sensitive to energy, perception, and lineage. But humans had a strange talent. We saw the world as a puzzle to be solved, not a ritual to be followed, and that perspective would be his greatest weapon. They entered the chamber. At the center floated a holographic map of the station's main network of gates. Red warning symbols flashed where the energy was unstable. Ethan could see that several gates were overlapping incorrectly, threatening to trigger defensive systems. One misstep could cause a cascade failure, sending energy surges that might damage parts of the station, or worse. This is where you must begin, Solara said. The gates are unstable. We cannot predict what they will do next. Only someone, outside our traditions, could fix them. Ethan leaned over the controls. Outside your traditions, huh? That sounds like humans, all right. Solara allowed a small smile. Indeed. But be careful. The council is watching. Ethan studied the holographic map. Unlike the Zarvians, who trusted lineage, rituals, and harmony, he approached the gates logically. Every gate had patterns, energy frequencies, and responses. Humans were used to observing patterns in chaos, breaking them into smaller problems, and testing possible solutions. That was exactly what he needed to do. He began by simulating the energy flows. Red nodes represented unstable gates, while green nodes represented stable ones. He traced the connections, noting which gates influenced each other. Some were simple, a single energy mismatch. Others were complex, with multiple overlapping lines of influence. Interesting, the sister whose gate he had entered earlier said, hovering silently behind him. You analyze differently than any Zarvian. You do not focus on the energy itself, you focus on the relationships between energies. Ethan glanced at her. It's just how humans think. When you have a problem, you look at the system as a whole, not just individual parts. She nodded slowly. This may be useful. Hours passed as Ethan worked, adjusting frequencies, rerouting energy flows, and testing each gate's response. The council observed through the chamber's transparent walls, some whispering in disbelief, others leaning forward in fascination. The station was alive with tension, and one wrong move could undo all of Ethan's efforts. At one point, a massive energy surge erupted from the central gate. Red sparks danced through the holographic display. The station's alarms blared. Security drones activated, aiming their energy arms at the source. Ethan froze, then calmly assessed the problem. The surge was caused by two overlapping gates, whose energy patterns conflicted. He quickly adjusted the shuttle's auxiliary system to emit a counter-frequency, stabilizing the surge. The council gasped. No Zarvian engineer would have dared to try that. Humans, with their unpredictable thinking, could attempt the impossible, and sometimes succeed. Solara's voice broke the silence. "Well done," she said softly. "You may just be the first human capable of controlling this network." Ethan smiled faintly. "It's not me. It's just looking at the problem differently." The sister stepped closer, her eyes narrowing. "But it works. Humans may be chaotic, but their minds are remarkable." For the next several hours, Ethan continued to adjust the gates. Each correction revealed another complication. Some gates resisted stabilization, reacting in unpredictable ways. Others required multiple adjustments in sequence, a challenge even for the most brilliant Zarvian engineers. Yet Ethan remained calm, breaking down each problem into smaller, solvable pieces. The council began to take notes, whispering among themselves, "Incredible. He is solving problems we considered unsolvable. Humans may indeed be valuable allies." He manipulates the gates without understanding their rituals. As the final adjustments were made, the gates began to stabilize. The red warnings faded to green. One by one, energy flows harmonized, and the station's systems returned to normal. The council let out a collective sigh of relief. Ethan stepped back, wiping sweat from his brow. He had succeeded, but he knew that the council's judgment would not end here. Humans were unpredictable, and unpredictability made some nervous, even impressed. The sister approached him once more. "You have done something no Zarvian could have done. You have controlled chaos with logic." Ethan nodded. "That's what humans do. We may not always understand your traditions, but we find solutions." She smiled, faint but approving. "Perhaps this is why the council should consider humans more seriously. Not because we follow their ways, but because they see possibilities we cannot." Solara placed her hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You have proven something important," she said. "Humans may not be perfect, but they are clever, adaptable, and capable of incredible feats. Today, you have not only saved the station, you have shown the value of humanity." Ethan glanced at the council chamber. The nobles were no longer whispering angrily. Many were watching him with new respect. Even the elder noble, whose niece's gate he had entered, nodded slightly in acknowledgement. Humans could be relied upon, not because they followed Zarvian rules, but because they adapted and succeeded when it mattered most. As the council began to discuss the next phase of the mission, Ethan realized something else. He had earned their attention, but not their trust yet. Trust would come slowly, through continued success and consistent cleverness. But humans had something other species did not always have: persistence, creativity, and the ability to think outside the rules. The sister finally spoke again. "Humans are dangerous, not because they are aggressive, but because they cannot be predicted. Yet, dangerous in a way that may benefit us." Ethan chuckled softly. "I'll take that as a compliment." Solara smiled, her golden eyes glowing. "It is, and it is just the beginning. There are more gates, more challenges, and more lessons to be learned. But today, you have shown the galaxy what humans are capable of." Ethan felt a sense of pride, though he remained humble. He had survived a diplomatic disaster, earned respect, and stabilized a station that even Zarvian engineers feared. But more importantly, he had demonstrated a fundamental truth. Humans were adaptable problem solvers, capable of feats that others could not even imagine. As he left the chamber, the shuttle safely behind him, Ethan allowed himself a brief moment to look at the stars beyond the station. The galaxy was vast, full of ancient civilizations and powerful beings. Humans had always been underestimated, but that was changing. One solution at a time, one step at a time. They were proving their value in ways that could not be ignored. The sister followed, her eyes thoughtful. "You are a human," she said quietly, "and you have survived where others would fail. Perhaps we should take a closer look at your species." Ethan nodded. "We are strange, unpredictable, but capable, and we never give up." Solara's smile widened. Exactly. And now, the council knows it too. The mission was far from over. But for the first time, Ethan felt confident. Humans were underestimated. Yes, but underestimated humans were the most dangerous and valuable of all. And in the halls of the Zarvian station, that lesson was being learned one step at a time. The council chamber was unusually quiet. The whispers and murmurs from the previous days had been replaced by a tense anticipation. Humans had survived disasters, solved problems no Zarvian could, and earned attention, but now the council would decide what that meant for the future. Ethan Hale stood at the center of the chamber, his human form small compared to the towering, multicolored nobles around him. The sister whose gate he had once entered approached, her golden energy calm and steady. "You have done what no Zarvian could," she said softly. "You have stabilized the station, prevented disaster, and proven the value of your species." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of her words. This was more than praise, it was recognition from one of the galaxy's oldest and most powerful civilizations. He had never thought humans would be seen this way. Solara stood beside him, her golden eyes bright with pride. She had supported him through every mistake, every challenge, and every moment of tension. "The council will decide your fate," she said quietly. "But know this, your actions have changed their perception. Humans are no longer outsiders. They are contributors." The elder noble who had first demanded Ethan's punishment stepped forward. His 3 eyes blinked, slowly, and his silver scales reflected the chamber's shimmering lights. "Humans are unpredictable," he said. "They do not follow our traditions, and yet they succeed where we fail. It is unsettling, but also remarkable." The council murmured agreement. Some were hesitant, still unsure of what it meant to accept humans as allies. Others were impressed, realizing that the unpredictability of humans could be a strength, not a weakness. Ethan took a deep breath. "I did not come here to disrespect your traditions," he said, his voice steady. "I came to help. Humans see problems differently. We break them down, find solutions, and act. That is what I did, and that is what we can do for the galaxy. We may not follow your rules exactly, but we can achieve results no one else can." The sister's eyes softened. "You speak truthfully, human. And yet, your words are simple, not ceremonial. That is part of what makes you effective. You do not complicate. You act." Solara nodded. "It is human nature to adapt, to learn, and to persevere. That is why I trust him." The council conferred quietly, discussing Ethan's words and his actions over the past days. There were arguments, debates, and even disagreements about whether humans should be given more responsibilities. But gradually, a consensus emerged. Humans were not just capable, they were valuable. Finally, the elder noble spoke again. "Let it be known throughout the council. Humans have proven themselves today. Their actions have stabilized the station, preserved noble lineages, and prevented disaster. From this day forward, humans shall be considered allies and advisors in matters requiring creativity, adaptability, and problem-solving." A wave of astonishment passed through the chamber. Some nobles whispered in approval. Others looked skeptical, but all recognized the significance of the declaration. Humans were no longer seen merely as outsiders, they had earned respect. Ethan allowed himself a small smile. It was not victory in the traditional sense, but it was acknowledgement. And acknowledgement was the first step toward trust. Solara stepped forward, addressing the council herself. "My husband has shown that humans are not merely reactive, they are innovative. Their thinking complements our traditions, strengthens our systems, and brings new possibilities. To ignore this would be to ignore an important advantage for our civilization and our galaxy." The council nodded, some reluctantly, others enthusiastically. It was clear that the perception of humans had shifted forever. The sister approached Ethan once more. "I underestimated your species," she admitted. "Humans are clever, adaptable, and unafraid to face chaos. That makes you formidable. Ethan chuckled lightly. Formidable is fine, as long as we can continue helping. She smiled faintly. Indeed. And you will. Humans will be called upon more often now to navigate, to solve, to adapt. The galaxy is changing. And your species has a place in that change. Solara's hand rested on Ethan's arm. You've not only saved the station, you've created opportunities for humans across the galaxy. This is the start of something greater. Ethan looked around at the chamber, at the aliens who had once doubted him, and realized the full impact of their acknowledgement. Humans had a reputation as unpredictable, messy, and often underestimated. Yet here, in front of the galaxy's oldest and most powerful civilization, humans were recognized as essential, not just for their actions, but for their unique perspective. The Council made a formal declaration. Humans were allowed to serve as advisors, navigators, and problem solvers in critical matters. Their unique perspective was codified as a stabilizing factor in all future projects and stations. Ethan felt a sense of pride but also responsibility. This recognition was not just for him, it was for all humans. If humans could continue to act with intelligence, courage, and adaptability, they could shape the future of the galaxy. As the council sessions concluded, Solara led Ethan to a balcony overlooking the vast expanse of space. Stars stretched endlessly in every direction, the station floating silently among them. You did it, Solara said softly. You've changed minds, hearts, and policies. Humans are no longer underestimated here. Ethan smiled, gazing at the stars. It's just the beginning. If humans can help here, in this station, imagine what we can do across the galaxy. Solara laughed lightly. You humans are always ambitious, and always adaptable, Ethan added. We survive. We think differently. We find solutions. That's what makes us humans. The sister approached quietly, joining them at the balcony. I admit, I judged humans too quickly, she said. You have shown that adaptability, intelligence, and persistence can overcome traditions older than your species. You may yet become a legend among us. Ethan's chest swelled with pride. Humans had always been underestimated. Yet, wherever humans went, they adapted, survived, and contributed. Today was proof. Back in the council chamber, preparations began for the next phase of integration. Humans would now work alongside Zarvian engineers and strategists, learning their systems and improving them with new perspectives. The galaxy had recognized the value of human ingenuity. Ethan reflected on the journey. He had entered the wrong gate, caused chaos, nearly triggered disaster, and yet, through problem-solving, quick thinking, and perseverance, humans had turned a mistake into a triumph. It was a lesson that would echo across generations. Humans were not to be underestimated. As he looked at the stars once more, Ethan knew this was only the start. There would be challenges ahead, tests of skill and judgment, and moments when humans would be counted on to succeed where others might fail. But he was ready. Humanity had a place in the galaxy, and they were here to make a difference. Solara rested her hand on his shoulder. The galaxy has learned something important today, she said. Humans do not simply follow rules. They find solutions. And that makes them invaluable. Ethan smiled. Then let's see what humans can do next. The sister nodded, her golden energy glowing. Indeed. Let the galaxy witness the rise of a species that will challenge expectations, solve impossible problems, and redefine what is possible. And in that moment, Ethan realized a profound truth. Humans had always been underestimated, always considered outsiders. But now, for the first time, the galaxy saw them as essential, clever, and capable of shaping the future. The station was safe, the council convinced, and the humans had earned respect. But beyond that, a legacy had begun. A legacy that would show every civilization that humans, though unpredictable, were the problem solvers. The adapters, the survivors, the species that could turn chaos into order and make the impossible possible. And in the vast, endless stars, that truth would travel faster than any spaceship. Humans were here. And humanity's time had come.